here with at CPAC Mexico with the president of Mis amigos migrantes, pues aquí estoy.
Total catastrophe, and it is a crisis.
Of a child, right there. All these NGOs, you're fake. It is this, the crisis of children.
Good evening to all. How's everybody doing? Thank you so much for joining in. God bless you all. Everybody that is watching, I'm showing the bed right there. I'm sorry about that. We are in a hotel room in City of Mexico. We are still here. We came down here to cover the speech of the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, which it was a complete shocker for a lot of us. To touch on that, I will touch on that topic a little bit later. I have my theory now, and I believe that that can possibly be a theory where behind closed doors, the American government with the Mexican government, Trump, behind closed doors, it is working with the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, which there's vast evidence that there possibly are. And I can tell you why. The only ones that they can say the opposite, it is the media. But ultimately, behind closed doors, they're making us, there's a phase that they're showing us what they're doing, and there's the other phase of what will be actually happening. Now, I want to talk about something, and I don't want to bring up my situation, but it is a calling for every independent journalist in the United States of America. I would like to say to you, blessings to you. God bless you. And hopefully this is an eye-opener for the situations where we as journalists, communicators, reporters, broadcasters, what we are going through over here in Mexico. The level of violence, it is increasing towards, it has stopped a little bit in Mexico towards journalists, but the level of threats are inevitably incredible in our country of Mexico. Journalists in Mexico can be easily targeted and can be easily killed, sadly. And this has been shown just 2 weeks ago. A journalist in the part of Guanajuato was sadly assassinated by, everybody says, the organized crime, but we don't know. This has been a normalization of something that we haven't gotten the opportunity to protect ourselves with. And it's becoming to be extremely insecure to practice our journalism in our country, although we have now certain outlets with protection and mechanisms that the government and the president of Mexico is now allowing us to have. Also, there has been, programs for us to understand what we need to do to gather all the information in terms to attacks through social media and everything that it comes to this, social media is used as a weapon to attack an individual or to basically get him killed, like a reporter, journalist, communicator, and so on. Today, this happened, and I did not want to do a live video tonight. I'm extremely tired. Today was a long day. But sadly, this happened today, and nobody knows what is going on. InfoWars reporter Jamie White brutally murdered near Austin residential area outlet, it says. Now, I don't know the situations, and God rest his soul. And God rest his soul to this, reporter journalist. Sadly, he was brutally murdered. We do not know. Certainly, their investigations are ongoing. But this is something that is basically a calling for the independent journalist that does not have a network to back them up or does not have the protection where they are located. Certainly, there is a big problem in the United States of America right now in terms to the protection to journalists, how critical and how easy for these liberals, the progressive mercenary liberals, to attack you. We have an example, Andy No, who was an independent broadcaster. He was attacked by Antifa, the same guy that actually I confronted in a shelter over here in Tijuana. He was disrespecting a police National Guard officer, a woman, and this same guy, he's a radical guy. He has thrown acid to people in their faces. He's a radical progressive liberal. Now you have these progressive mercenary liberals attacking cars and Teslas, attacking all of this, targeting the people that they are using, basically things of Elon Musk, or, things that they are, if you're a follower of Trump, or if you're just, right wing conservative, or you're a Christian. It's called the persecution. And it is obvious that it is not going to take that long for journalists to be targeted. I don't know this actual situation. God rest his soul, Jamie White, that he was a reporter for, uh, you know, uh, who was a reporter for Infowars. But I want to make a statement for people and independent journalists in the United States. Protect yourself. Please do not, you know, do not let this be normalized. Please do not let this to be another person that just they took away his life. Investigate and push the government to protect independent journalists, which they are extremely vulnerable to be attacked and to be targeted. Um, we are extremely vulnerable to be attacked and to be targeted. Every single evidence that you guys can get on your hands in terms to attacks on social media, and also in terms to attacks, whatever the circumstance or whatever the situation, uh, and whatever the current situation that you are going through, if you're an independent reporter in the United States of America, you know, you guys need to be safe now. Why I'm saying this? Because where we're going through over here in Mexico, it is the exposure of the organized crime, basically the exposure of the ones that they're causing the insecurity in our country, and it has consequences and repercussions to do that. We have to be extremely careful to do that, and the death threats and the multiple threats are continuing. Everything needs to be filed and everything needs to be documented. I recommend what we're doing over here as journalists in Mexico, the whole conglomerate of in the Union of Journalists, documenting, filing every social media targeting, attack, whatever it is, outside, inside, TV, mainstream media, everything needs to be documented and filed and put as a threat to your life, as in ultimately, or a potential threat to your safety. That is, the recommendation that journalists over here in Mexico are doing. Why? Because it's not getting easy for nobody to inform. And of course, it's not going to get easy in the United States to do your job. I will say why. You have a lot of infiltrated bad people inside of the United States of America, which they are from the organized crime, from the cartel, which they are potentially, possibly going to start acting radically because their politically funding and their federal grant funding, it is not going as it was before, making millions of dollars of illegal migration and all these other circumstances and assets that they were getting easily through the federal government. Now everything is changing and everything is drifting to protecting your economy as a U.S. citizen and yourself. But ultimately, at the end of the day, this happened to a journalist in your country. It should be concerning. It should be extremely concerning. Whatever the circumstance, and whatever the circumstance was of his life, losing his life, and God rest his soul, it has to be taken as seriously and potentially taken more seriously because of the profession that he practiced. And it has to be an example for the protection of other journalists and the targeting of other journalists in the United States. I'm talking to you guys. Why? Because it can easily be said, how easy can they get to a journalist in the United States? This has to be taken seriously. I wish that, people, independent journalists, that they're in the United States, which they cover the border, that they're always vulnerable to be outside of the border in the United States, which is completely different than Mexico, right? We don't have an ability to carry, we don't have an ability to carry. We don't have an ability to be, wandering around the border, walking around alone, or reporting alone. We don't have that ability. It's different over here. It's completely different. It's extremely dangerous. But also, it has the level of danger now in the other side of the United States. So I will recommend start being more precautious. And don't let this be another person that just lost his life. Try to be as concerned as to what happened, and don't let this be something that is extremely normal. Let me put you an example on screen. This was just a week ago. I was talking in my live in TikTok. I have close to almost 550,000 followers at TikTok. I was doing a live in Spanish, continuously do lives in Spanish over there to talk to the Spanish speaking media. And I was ongoing and saying about designating the cartels as terrorists. Immediately, I received this message in the inbox, and this is what it says. I cut the whole message box because it's a guy that is completely threatening my life. It says you are not calling them terrorists. If you're calling them terrorists, who do you think is going to get the bad upper hand here? Is it going to be you or is it going to be me? If what are you saying that the cartels are terrorists, who do you think is going to be affected, you or me? This what you're saying is you're exposing them. Let's see who goes first down first. You don't take away my sleep. Whatever you do with your social media pages, I don't care. But when it comes to me, I am going to put your name to the cartels in Mexico and see that you're going to get the bad side of it. So you tell me the time and we will arrange ourselves. I just got to tell you, I got family members that they work for the cartel in Mexico, and that I can make this video immediately. I can get this video immediately to them. So you tell me, when can we start? This was a threat talking about, this is just only talking about it. And like this, I got hundreds of these. I never done this kind of videos exposing, conversations of these kind of statutes, these kind of situations. I don't think that is for safety. But it's just I want to, you know, talk to the journalists, independent journalists in the United States. Be careful, take care of yourself, protect yourself, always with blessings of God, go out and practice your job and your profession that you love. But try to be extremely precautious now. You never know what is going on and what is going around you. Who is in front of you, who is behind you, who is going to be, uh, you know, who is going to be in front of you, or who is going to, have a professional relation with you, with what purpose. Um, it has a lot of, contradictory, situations, and it's a lot of context to it. Be cautious, extremely cautious, and watch your back every single time. This is what we do. I don't, a lot of people have asked me so many times, Oscar, why don't you go live anymore? Why don't you do lives anymore? And this is the reason why we don't do lives anymore, for the number one reason that it has become extremely dangerous since 2019, when they try to take away my life. It has become dangerous, and it has become dangerous for all. This is why it is, when I do a live, it has to be around other journalists, people that I feel safe. And ultimately, this is the cautious precautions that we take. Um, just for independent journalists, and I'm talking about independent journalists because those are the ones that they are in a potential, you know, vulnerability. There's no protection of a network with you all the time. And, if you work for a big mainstream media, you will have different, security, the light guy, you have the guy that is the editor, you have the producer, you have the guy that is just preparing the whole thing, you have the writer, you have the photo guy, you have all the whole team of people working for one purpose. And it's phenomenal. It's great to have that kind of you know kind of finance to provide a broadcast in that kind of level. For independent journalists, we just pick up our cars and we just go. And we try to bring the news the best that we can. Take this seriously. Try to be, serious about this, and try to be precautious about this. And, and try to be extremely precautious to all independent journalists in the United States. Don't let this be normalized, and don't let this be something that it can be um, actually another thing that is normal in your country. Don't let it be like that, please. In our country of Mexico, we have sadly, suffered the consequences of this, and it is still ongoing. There's a war over here. The government is actually now doing something and fighting the cartel and fighting the organized crime. The president of Mexico on Sunday, she spoke, and she said things that uh, you know, things that I never thought that she was going to say. And a lot of people do not believe Claudia Sheinbaum because she's Jewish, because she's a lefty, because, a lot of people don't believe her because she's a liberal. We don't know what is going on behind closed doors. What I heard on that speech, speaking in front of all of her colleagues on Sunday, in front of all of her supporters, and in front of more than 350,000 people, was completely different of what we were accustomed to hear. And it is something that is completely, uh, it gives you a breath of fresh air, what I heard on Sunday. First thing that I heard is the enormous relationship of respect that the Mexican president has with the Trump administration, and the enormous respect that she shows for Trump, and also that Trump has been really respectful to the Mexican president. You know, it's beginning to be extremely extremely difficult for what they're trying to do, that is combat the organized crime. Both of them, they're trying to do something. Now, the Mexican president on Sunday said that they have taken the responsibility to combat the trafficking of fentanyl in our country of Mexico, that they have decreased the trafficking of fentanyl since January till now on 40%. that they actually want to fight the trafficking of fentanyl because they don't want the youth of the United States of America to be damaged and to lose more lives. Also, she said, we're not adversaries, we're not enemies, we are friends, we're neighbors. We should treat ourselves with, as being neighbors. Um, Ultimately, also, the thing that shocked me the most was the immigration issue, which she said this. She said, we embrace migrants. We also want to enforce the rule of law, but with respecting their human right. But also, she said, we know the actual formula to fix this problem. And to fix this problem is to grow their internal economical growth, their GDP, for them to not leave their country and make their countries better, which it was a shocker for me because if Joe Biden was president, this speech will never be happening. And, if Joe Biden was president, this would not be right now happening. And if Joe Biden would have been president, none of this would be happening as to fighting the trafficking of fentanyl. She said multiple things that I was completely pleased and content on Sunday. A lot of people from the left are saying, Oscar, are you changing to the left? No, I'm not. I am having faith. First and foremost, I am not from no political party. And the only thing that I can tell you is that what I can say is there's a breath of fresh air, there's some light in the horizon, that we can feel that there's a possible fate that this can be fought off. She delivered more than 29 criminals and narco terrorists to the United States. What took her so long doesn't even matter anymore. What it matters is it being done. Two of the biggest, largest kingpins in Mexico, they're in prison in the United States, El Chapo Guzman and El Mayo Zambada. 29 of the most narco terrorists that they torture our country and they completely made our country, insecure. They are now arrested in the United States and they were extradited over there. And, it's unbelievable now the possible change that it can happen. It gives you a breath of fresh air and faith. Now, this is my theory, and somebody saying she's Jewish. Was she born in Mexico? She's Jewish by religion. That's what I meant. Now, I will accept your questions in a few moments. I am not going to China, BlackRock, all this stuff that a lot of people make connections with just Google. I really want to focus on fixing the problem. This is what I want to focus on. So, this is my theory. And I want to be honest and I want to be bold to say my theory. Donald Trump has been completely outspoken when it comes to the most powerful countries that if they come together, they can be extremely powerful in the world. Canada, United States, and Mexico. As you have seen, Donald Trump has been aggressive towards Governor Trudeau and towards the territory of Canada. He has been completely bold in calling Canada a 51st state. Completely different scenario in terms to how he is basically addressing the Mexican country and the Mexican people. If you acknowledge that and if you sit down And if you are just patient to to analyze that, you will understand the different types of scenarios which he has managed a problem in Canada, and it's a whole different scenario in Mexico, which I believe, and this is my theory, it is a theory. The liberals are going to say it's a conspiracy, and the liberals are going to say this is, uh, you're creating hysteria, like their stupidity language that they use. What I believe is this: I believe strongly that the United States took the initiative to sit down, negotiate, and talk to the Mexican government and say to them, this is what we have on you. We have this. We have El Mayo Zambada. We have El Chapo Guzman. We have all this evidence on you. We need to work together to eliminate and eradicate this problem. Are you going to work with me or not? Because the only way that we are going to eliminate this is me by force or me being nice. And I believe strongly that the Mexican president also let the United States government know, hey, we are a sovereign nation. We have a constitution and we have a law. There's a lot of corruption. I understand that. But under the perception, you're making it look like you want to invade the country. JD Vance came out and said, there's no way we want to invade Mexico. We want to eliminate a problem. So my theory is that they actually presented this scenario to the population, to the Americas and to Mexico, to the population to say to them, we are going to tariff Mexico, designating the cartels as terrorists. And ultimately, not only that, but we're going to pressure you to do your job. That is for the people. Behind closed doors, as the evidence is so true, Donald Trump has been completely respectful to the Mexican president. He even complimented her on her beauty. And he even has been, I have had a great relationship with her, had a really respectful relationship with her, had an enormous conversation with her. And on the other side, you hear the Mexican president say, I just had a really respectful conversation with Donald Trump. We had an extremely respectful conversation with Donald Trump. On the Sunday speech, she said, we accomplish everything with dialogue and we accomplish everything with having respect between each other. Why Donald Trump is being extremely passive in terms to speaking about the situation with Mexico, but he has not been passive at all about the situation with Canada. What makes me believe is that actually there was a negotiation behind closed doors where the Mexican government said, this is the theory. Don't believe me if you want to believe me or not. Where the Mexican government said, I need help. And the only way that we can do this is that you pressure me. You put the threat of a tariff. You designate these people as terrorists. So that will take away the heat from me. And it will have the responsibility on you. So in the outside world, it will look like it's you, but I'm letting you in to pressure me so I can have the legitimacy and the power to enforce the executive power to start exercising whatever it takes to attack the problem by within. And I believe strongly that for to her to fight the corruption, she needs to be pressured in a way. This is why multiple times I have said the threat of a tariff needed to happen whether they liked it or not. And it is something that it needed to happen to pressure the Mexican government for them to ultimately act against the organized crime and the cartel, and for to present this to the organized crime and to their individuals who they are corruptly involved with politicians, to tell them it is not me, it's the United States who is pressuring, it is them. And that is, I believe, a strong way of a bilateral relation to work together to attack a problem by within. Possibly I'm wrong. Entirely, possibly I'm wrong. Possibly I'm completely wrong. But intelligently, if you look at it that way, it is a really smart way to play chess without maneuvering a war, lives in danger, invasion of a sovereign nation, infiltrating in a country, and ultimately affecting the economy. On the other hand, you are growing the relationship stronger by the way that both presidents have been speaking upon each other and the perception that every single one of them has upon each other. This is for the United States. Trump has had a perception of the Mexican president with an enormous respect. The Mexican president on Sunday showed an enormous respect also to Trump. And this is for all the progressive liberals. You can go to the tapes and you can go to the speech. She consistently says everything was handled with dialogue. Also, she said, we are not going to let no foreign hegemony come and tell us what to do, but also we're going to handle this with dialogue. We are a government of humanity, love, and peace. This tells you that there's always an open door for collaboration. And the things that she said, focusing, you know, focusing ultimately on tackling the fentanyl traffic into the United States, a statement that possibly a lot of people are going to say is fake. I don't believe her, whatever you say. She said this in front of 350,000 people of her followers that got her into office. It's a huge responsibility to say that. And also, the press of Mexico was going to go extremely after her after this. She said, we're going to do whatever it takes to help the United States to not get contaminated with this drug and to save the youth of America with prevention programs that actually the president of the United States has already accepted that we send these prevention programs to them. This is what she said. Also, she added, also, the current administration of the United States knows that there's a huge problem of trafficking of guns from the United States to Mexico to feed the cartel. That is a reality. We're not going to lie about it. It is on the stats, and it is, you know, it is on the stats, it is on the numbers. I believe strongly that there is something going on behind closed doors. This speech on Sunday was beyond comprehension for me. Knowing Morena, the political party of the left, and knowing their defense mechanism to completely neglect capitalism or neglect, ideologies from the right wing movement, I thought that she was going to come out with retaliation language. And also, she was going to come out in a defense to provoke the people to say, we're not going to let nobody tell us what to do. On the other hand, if you look at her speech, and if somebody wants to say it is BS, go and take it home. Okay, it is BS. But on the other hand, if you just analyze this, and as a journalist, you need to analyze every word that she said, it is in a way comforting that by once in a lifetime, there's possibly a legitimate relationship of collaboration to end this. We don't know if there's a possibility or not. We don't know if it can actually happen or not. The only thing that I'm sure of is that she needed something to justify for her to extradite, for her to act, for her to have a weapon to say, they're pressuring me. And now look what is happening. Sassy Fras, I would like to ask you a question. Are you a follower of Nayib Bukele? I don't like to put your name on blast right here on the live feed. Excuse me. But what is your perception of Nayib Bukele? He's a great president, right? Are you a follower of Nayib Bukele? Sassy? Everybody knows who Bukele is, right? He's a great president, and he has brought peace to El Salvador people, and he has uh, he's no, I'm just asking you about if you're a follower of Nayib Bukele because you're telling me her grandfather was a communist. So my question is, if you're a follower of Bukele, do you know who his father was? His father was a communist, and and all his family were socialists. Bukele came and revolutioned the whole political movement of his political party. In El Salvador, they say that he's one of a kind specimen because he's totally different from his lineage and his family. I'm not defending the Mexican president. I'm saying that she's possibly, different and she's going to do miracles and make the cows fly in the sky, as stupid that example as it sounds. But we need to understand that we are just months into her government. And, you know, as also as Donald Trump, just months into his government. So we need to understand that we need time. It's moving real fast, everything that is happening. We have to acknowledge that there's changes that are happening drastically and enormously in both of our countries. The only thing that I have said, and there's another thing right here that you're actually pointing out, that is the compact of climate change and all this. Yeah, that has nothing to do with the cartels. We're talking about fighting the organized crime and the cartel and fentanyl. If you want to focus on globalist agendas, that's a different scenario. We yeah, that's a whole different scenario. Don't mix oil with water. We're tackling fentanyl, tackling illegal migration. And what she said in terms to immigration was extremely shocking for me. Me that I cover immigration on the whole continent and part of Europe, I have covered it. What I can tell you, what she said, it was shocking. Um, First and foremost, she said that they embrace migrants and that we are going to always respect their human right. But we understand that the way that we need to fix this is by growing their internal economy. Basically, making their countries great. That is the solution. And this for me was a shocker. Why was a shocker? Because um I cannot this would have never happened. This would have never happened under Biden. Never happened under Biden. I'm going with everybody saying geopolitical things, geopolitical politics. I'm going with common sense. Isn't it a time for common sense? I'm going with common sense. And what I heard and what I saw on Sunday, that it was shocking for me as a Mexican citizen that wants a change for his country and wants his country to grow. It was a complete shocker. I was so surprised. I was really surprised. I was really surprised. Everything that she was saying, uh, it was really surprised. Somebody saying changing maritime law can't stop some of trafficking offshore, where there's a lot of trafficking that is not going to end 0% in one day to another. Let's just understand that. A lot of people are going to say, well, this is happening on this side, this is happening on this side, this is going to continue to happen. We understand that. There's still illegal migration, 15, 20, 30. It has cracked down a lot. There's always going to be the illegal immigration or the trafficking of humans through places where there is no border patrol or there is an open border gap. There's always going to be that. But we need to understand that it has decreased massively. Massively. A lot of people have asked me if I can touch on the situation that is happening in Syria. If you guys are not watching Chuck Holton, go to his podcast. He talks about it. And he's the most qualified individual to talk about that. I'm just going to read and recollect a lot of information which is happening over there, and get also a person and invite a person that knows about that topic, and specifically speak about what is currently happening. That is horrible. What they're doing to Christians in Syria. It's horrible. What they're doing is world news, and it is not getting that attention, too much attention, because every attention it is focused right now on the fight of the cartels over here, and also the economy and the security of the border and the international relations. The Canada is going to be hot for the next couple of months. Who's going to be the next prime minister? They have a new liberal leader who came out and completely attacked the United States of America. Was really disrespectful to American citizens. I don't know if you guys have heard his speech, but it was completely disrespectful. The way that he came out and addressed the American public, completely disrespectful. But, that's the way that he spoke. That's the way that he is. People need to understand that liberals live out of crisis, and they need to create a crisis to win elections. So they live by the ideology of Karl Marx and Engels. You need to divide to win. That's what the Democratic Party has done perfectly as a strategy before, and they were winning until the populist movement stepped up to the plate and uh, won the elections. How's everybody doing? Thank you so much for joining in. It's 10:37 over here. I gotta go to bed. You know, I had a long day today. I had a long day today. We did a lot of work, and a lot of the topics. A lot of people are touching a lot of a lot of world topics and situations about that. But I will love for when I get home, when I go back home, sit down and gather all these topics in one day and divide them by which day I'm going to be talking about them, so we can have a more open podcast and we can talk about these topics, and ultimately, of course, put your opinions on the screen and read your opinions on the screen so people can have their opinion heard about what is actually happening. God bless you all. Stay safe. Thank you so much. It is Monday, March 10th. The time is 10:38 in the evening. Stay safe. And like we always say, people, God's plan, it is our mission. God bless.